In the manga Vagabond, there are so many quotes that inspire and motivate people. Some quieter, some louder, but all of them carry the same weight. There's one in particular that, although isn't my personal favorite, is probably the most famous of them all. Preoccupied by a single leaf, you'll miss the entire tree. Preoccupied by a single tree, you'll miss the entire forest. It's to see everything in its entirety, to not be trapped by a single moment, and to not fixate on one wound, one failure, one fear. And that's what it means to truly see. This quote by Takizo in the manga Vagabond left me wondering something. What if you can't? What if there's something so strong, so deeply rooted inside you that it locks your vision in place? What if you've grown into this tall, beautiful tree, but you've never truly grown from the roots? What if the soil itself is poisoned? This could be a traumatic memory. Maybe it's something someone else did to you. This could be guilt, shame, or maybe it's the fear of being judged for choosing to live a different life than others. Even being judged for trying to become something new, someone new. And from the outside perspective looking in, we always ask, is it even possible to understand what someone else is feeling? And if we could understand it, would this make us better humans? But then that leads to something deeper. What does it even mean to be truly human? Alright, here we go. Recently, I just read the first 2 volumes of this manga that was recommended to me by some of you watching this video right now. A story that dives directly into human behavior, into why people act the way they act, and what holds them back, in a way that's somewhat disturbing, somewhat uncomfortable. And this manga kind of forces you to look in a little deeper. That manga is Homunculus, and today I want to talk about a specific moment, a person whose past completely controls them, leading them into a life they've never truly chose. A life that feels more like a reaction than a decision. A life shaped by guilt instead of desire. But first we need to understand how we got here. And for those who haven't read this story, I'll quickly explain it. Nakoshi Susumu, a 30-year-old homeless man living out of his car. When we first see him, he exists in this strange middle ground of a life. One side, a group of homeless men with little to no future, surviving day to day with regret hanging over them like a fog, their own personal lives that slowly shrank. On the other side is a luxurious hotel filled with wealthy men and women, comfortable, clean, stable, perfectly satisfied, and Nakoshi parks directly in between them. He doesn't fully belong to either world. We later learn that he had a well-established job. He lived comfortably, he had structure, stability, and he walked away from it. So now he lives in this in-between state, close enough to both worlds to see them clearly, but refusing to commit to either. He has eyes on both sides, but refuses to live in either. That choice, or maybe that avoidance, attracts a young medical student who becomes fascinated by him. He offers Nakoshi a large sum of money he desperately needs, in exchange for participating in a surgery, with this result resulting in a hole drilled into his frontal lobe. After this surgery, Nakoshi gains the ability to see homunculi, these distorted manifestations of people's inner lives, but only when he covers his left eye. He can only see the truth when part of his vision is blocked. Maybe to see the forest, you have to temporarily stop looking at the surface. So how are you able to see everything in its entirety? How do we do what we love without feeling judged? How do we live through the bad moments without letting people define us? And how do we escape this single leaf that consumes our entire vision? There are countless icons out there that people admire. Artists, athletes, even content creators. People who's reached success by breaking out of that mental bubble, by confronting what held them back, by refusing to live in a reaction of fear. They become closer to their truest selves. And in one of the first arcs of Homunculus, this idea is shown in the most unsettling way possible. After the surgery and now being able to see these homunculi, Nakoshi is seen walking downtown, closing one eye and seeing people's hidden traumas, their physical manifestations. Some are subtle, some are quite disturbing, and some are impossible to ignore. He accidentally bumps into a man, a sort of mafia boss. But when Nakoshi closes his left eye, the man doesn't even look human anymore. He's a machine, a transformer. But when Nakoshi looks closer and really looks, he sees something inside this machine. It's a child. A small boy inside this robotic shell. And then something terrifying happens. This robot is trying to cut its own finger. Nakoshi panics. He sees the child hiding behind this machine, crying, trembling, looks scared. Nakoshi begs him to stop, and in that moment the child cries even more. The mafia boss is seen crying. And we realize something. These homunculi aren't random. They're the lasting effects of these people's unresolved traumas. They're frozen in the versions of themselves that never grown up. So why do we let these things hold us back? Why do we allow a single moment, maybe a single mistake, to define our entire identity? There are so many successful people we look up to, and the gap between who they are and who we think they are feels massive. But that gap is only one thing: change. Not some random change, not someone pretending, real actual change. Turning past failures into lessons instead of prisons. Being relentless about the life you want. Learning to stop caring about the opinions of people who aren't living your life. Because to move past an old life, you have to be willing to let it die.
You know, with public speaking, it like feels like you might die, but you're just, you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like you can always go out and like make a fool of yourself and it doesn't really matter.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like the reason why we get scared of doing things where there isn't a cost is because we almost make it out like there is a higher stake to it.
Yeah, but I think that with a little bit of practice, you realize that there just isn't that high of a stake.
There's no stakes.
Like, you know, when you haven't done it before, you're like, what if they laugh at you? And then you're like, what if they do? Like, who cares? You know, like turns out it's totally fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's what eventually happens to this mafia boss. The next day, he invites Nakoshi back to talk, to understand how he knows about his past. We learn the truth. When he was a child, he was playing with his best friend. Through a selfish act, a careless moment, his friend's finger gets cut off. That single moment branded him. He never processed it, never forgave himself. So he built a life around it. Anyone who disobeyed him had to lose their pinky. Over and over again, he recreated the same trauma. Not because he was evil, but because he was trapped. He became the machine, emotionless, mechanical. Because living this feeling was too painful. Nakoshi goes deeper into his mind and understands the real root. It was guilt. To see that the accident wasn't defining the truth of his existence, something shifts. He realizes he built his entire identity around this single leaf. One mistake, one moment. Accepting that moment doesn't erase it, but it frees him from it. And with that acceptance comes regret. Regret for how he treated others, for the fear he forced onto them, and the ruthless act so no one sees his weakness. But this regret this time isn't a weakness, it's a prison. It's now clarity. He steps down from his role. He chooses to stop this cycle. He turns off this machine, and it goes back to its original state. And for the first time, he moves forward, finally at peace. These two people now part ways. One still searching to understand his humanity, and the other finally chasing a life that feels like his own. This manga and the way it goes into the root of people's minds, how they go into the different layers of people, I don't know, it kind of makes this video feel very small in comparison to all the angles and the symbols and the interpretations that this manga really brings out. But to be honest, this arc stuck with me because there's so many periods in my life where I felt like I was defined by a single moment, a single failure, a fear of wanting to change but seeing how people would judge me for it. And reading this gave me a new perspective. Maybe being human isn't about being flawless. Maybe it's not about confronting what you buried, but being able to truly see the forest and forgiving the leaf. So to anyone watching this video right now, don't let the judgment of others lock you away. Don't let one single mistake define your entire personality, your entire way of living, and don't become something you're not. Accept what happened. Accept the failures and understand them and go relentless at it. Attack harder, not out of guilt, but out of clarity. Because when you finally stop being preoccupied with this single leaf, you start to realize that this endless forest was always yours and you were just walking through it. It's all I ever asked for. A chance to have a platform and a name, whatever that's for.